Hey, everybody, this is the Ads with the Twang podcast. I'm your host, Ben Blackman, and on this episode, we're going to talk about why most people fail at paid ads and how to fix it. Here comes episode 108. The Ads with the Twang podcast is dedicated to helping you create simple, successful ads and use smart strategies to grow your online business. Get ready because I think you're going to love this. Okay, welcome to Ads with a Twang. I'm excited that you decided to join me today, and this is the second episode since I've been back. So if you didn't listen to the episode before, don't. You're not going to learn a lot. You can start here and it's just fine. I just go over why I changed the name of it and so forth. It doesn't really matter. So I like to keep this really casual. And that's how we're going to do it. I like to do as minimal editing as possible, mostly because I think it's good to see, the behind the scenes or know that people make a lot of mistakes when they're doing this stuff. And a lot of times we only see the polished version. That's the same way with ads, right? We only see the polished versions or the versions that have worked. We don't see all the iterations that didn't work. And it's hard to learn without seeing that stuff. The other thing that happens often is we'll see an ad and we think it's working just because it's there, but we don't really know the behind the scenes because we don't know if they did another iteration before, or if this is the first one, or what happened. So that's why I like to do it this way. Now, something I just want to mention to you before I kind of dive into this is that, and I might talk about this more later, people are asking about it, but I'm actually on, and this is not an endorsement or anything, I'm not an affiliate or anything, but I'm on focusmate.com right now. So I actually have somebody watching. So what you do is it's like you sign up and you select a time and all throughout the day and you're matched with somebody and you both jump on a call together, and then one of you says, okay, I'm going to do this during our time together, and then you say I'm going to do this, and then y'all co-work on a video call, and then at the end you kind of go over what you got done. Well, right now I'm on a call with somebody. She can't hear me talking, but she's working on some kind of coding thing, and I've got her right there. But it helps you get stuff done if you're having trouble getting stuff done. Now, I don't need this to do this episode or anything necessarily, but then again, it doesn't hurt because it's more about habit and everything. All right, I don't know if that was helpful or not, but I just kind of wanted to tell you kind of behind the scenes of what I do. So I've got my notes here. I'm so glad I'm doing it this format now because I can see my notes and get everything, make sure I don't miss anything and whatnot. So most people, though, let's just kind of dive into it, struggle with ads. Let's make no bones about it. Most people fail at ads. They either don't let them run long enough, they don't do enough testing, they can't do enough testing, their budget's not big enough, their expectation level is way out of whack, whatever it is. But let's talk about some of those reasons in a little more detail, because if you're going to make paid ads work, you've got to have the right approach. So as I said just a second ago, expectation level is huge. So I can't, a lot of people will tell you that they don't expect instant results, but I can promise you as an agency owner, most of the time they really do. They may not consciously, may not be in the forefront of their mind, but when money starts going out the door and nothing's coming back in from your ads, it becomes apparent that they really want results to happen a lot faster. And I get that. Okay, I totally get that. And something that you want to bear in mind is it's whether you have a big budget or small budget. So bigger budget, you would think a smaller budget, people wouldn't worry about it as much, but it's really just as bad. And what I mean by that is let's just say you're doing something really simple on Facebook, like a $5 a day ad. And, you're not seeing great results. Let's just say you're trying to grow your Facebook group using $5 a day ads. Well, maybe you're getting one person a day or two people a day or zero a day, one every other day or something like that. When you're only running $5 a day, you think it's not working because you're not getting the numbers in, and it takes so long to get real meaningful numbers to trigger in our head, hey, this is working or this is not working. And so we tend to make big decisions on these small numbers, and that's just not a good place to be. So expectations have to be managed, and we all have to do it. I even have to do it on my own ads. Like right now, I'm running some low ticket offer ads, and while they're doing okay, they're definitely not doing what I thought they would be doing. And and I shouldn't say that. I actually was not exactly sure because there's a certain metric that I wasn't sure that we'd be able to meet. And some things have really surprised me. Some things that I'm trying a lot of different creative, especially a lot more casual creative of me just holding my phone out and yammering on about whatever I'm talking about. And trying that out because in the past that's not really what I would have suggested. And in my agency, most of the time the video ads for what we do for most people, it's not a good fit. It's usually better to do an image ad. But I wanted to test this out, and I'm finding out some things that are surprising. So expectations, again, is just a big thing to manage. The second thing is it really has to do with having a not a great offer. So ads can't fix a weak offer. It's just that simple. And so unfortunately, I don't know if this is good or bad, but being an online course creator or coach or whatever it is that you're doing, entrepreneur, digital products, whatever it is, it's so easy to create something, and people can see the light at the end of the tunnel, that they can create something in a relatively short period of time, let's just say a course it is. So what tends to happen is they tend to go ahead and start creating the whole course, and they wait till it finally gets done, and they don't test it out before they do all the work. So now they're married to the offer, and they're married to their course. Well, what if nobody wants the course? And the even worse than that is that maybe just some people do want it, but it's so few people that from an ad standpoint, you can't get in front of enough of the right people to sell it ongoing, right? You can sell some organically, maybe, but with ads, it's not working out. Well, that's something else, right? Not everything sells. Let's not pretend like it does. It just doesn't. Some things are just not a good offer, even though it might be important to you. It may not be important to enough people that you can get in front of on a regular basis to make it consistent and make it work for you. So listen, I'm not trying to be discouraging or anything, but the thing is that you always want to test your offer out with as minimal work into it as you can. So just as an example, and I literally just told one of my clients this, and I said, look, if don't finish creating the course, right? Just create the first module and let them know when you're selling it. Let them know you're going to drip out the rest of it. Okay, most people be okay with that, and go ahead and sell it. And that's what she did. So she sold 20 or 30, I forget how many now, but she sold, so she's got a viable offer. So now she can create the rest of it. So she didn't spend all this time creating stuff. And by the way, one thing that she learned was that a couple of the modules that she was going to create, she changed what those were going to look like based on the feedback she'd gotten from the initial stuff. So that's another thing that's just really beneficial there. The next thing is targeting the wrong audience, and I think we kind of went over that as well. So it doesn't matter how good your ad is or your offer if you can't get in front of the right audience. And so that's the other tricky thing. Sometimes you have to go ahead and get some ads out there and test it out a little bit. Now, there's no perfect way to do this. You can try it all organically, and if you've sold X amount, a bunch organically, great. Good, then try it with ads, okay? It just depends on where you are in the process. The next thing is really just not understanding the metrics. And I mean, this is crucial. You've got to understand the metrics. And people waste money because they don't. And so I keep this coffee mug on my desk, and I send this out to clients. I say this all the time. So if you're listening to this, you won't see it, but it says, say no to ad drama and just do the math. That's really what it's all about. Once you can just count on doing the math, then it makes it so much easier. Even if your ads aren't doing great, it's better to know exactly where you are at all times and keep track of it, especially in the beginning. In the very beginning, and part of it depends on what you're doing, like if it's a higher ticket offer or a mid ticket or a lower ticket or whatever. But in the beginning, you want to look at it just about every day, but you don't necessarily want to make decisions every day. It depends on how much you're spending and what your metrics look like. So you have to define those things up front. And in future episodes, I'll go over that with you. Okay. So the last thing is skipping retargeting. So retargeting's tricky because it always sounds good, but most of the time when people start the retargeting ads, they don't produce, at least not in a way that people think that they should. And so there's a couple of caveats here. So what happens is your retargeting ads. So if your initial, it's garbage in, garbage out. If your initial ads are not targeting the right people, well, the retargeting's not going to work. And that happens a lot. Okay. Or if your offer's crappy, retargeting people with the same crappy offer is not going to work, right? That doesn't matter. So you have to be cognizant of whether or not the initial offer is good. But the other thing is that you want to make sure you've spent enough on retargeting. So retargeting typically, so let's just say you're starting an ad to a low ticket offer and you're spending $50 a day. All right. Well, you can start your retargeting ads for $1 a day, but you may not get a sale for that for 30 days at $1 a day, right? Or whatever it is. So you have to be aware of that. You need to let them run long enough to figure it out. So just remember that. But it is essential that you do that to get your conversions up. So before we go any further, if you would, make sure you subscribe to this podcast for more ad strategies. I would love that. And really, I would love it if you follow me or you subscribed on YouTube, Marketing with a Twang. If you'll go there this episode, or you may be watching it there now, but this episode will be on there, as well as a whole bunch of business building and marketing tips and so forth, especially if you're over 45. All right. So how do you fix this stuff? Well, the way that you fix is use data-driven decisions. So as I was talking about the numbers earlier, you have to know your numbers. So even though some of them are vanity metrics, you still got to know them. So like click-through rate, right? People obsess over click-through rate. Well, technically that's a vanity metric. And so you don't want it too high and you don't want it too low. So if it's too low, you're not getting enough traffic. If it's too high, you're probably getting a lot of the wrong traffic, if that makes sense. So you want to kind of be there in the sweet spot. What's the number? Well, it depends. It depends on the market. It depends on what you offer. Rule of thumb might be somewhere between 1 to 2.5%. It's usually a good place. I do have some that work extraordinarily well at 0.75% to 3.5%. So you just have to keep an eye on it. But the other things are, your conversion rate. Are you selling enough? Are you getting enough eyeballs on the landing page? How well is that working? Is it converting within industry norms of what you're doing? Are you doing a webinar and you're thinking you're supposed to get 50% of the people who click should convert? Well, they're not going to, most likely. Not anymore anyway. It's probably more like 20 to 25%. So you have to make sure you have your expectation there, but set this out ahead of time. The next thing is you want to test, but you've got to test smartly and systematically. And testing is a tricky thing because people talk about testing and testing and testing, but they're not very specific on what to test and how to test it. So I'm just going to tell you just a basic thing. I'm doing this off the cuff, by the way. I don't have this written out for any of you all. But so the way that you want to do this from a testing standpoint, say we're talking about Facebook ads, is just change the image. If you're using images, just change the image. That's it. Okay? Run it for long enough to know if it's working or not. Okay? And now sometimes that might be just as long as you ran the old image, but sometimes it might be less time because you might see it's tanking a lot quicker. Right? So you want to pay attention to it, but just test the image. Don't change the copy. Don't change anything else. Just test the image and see what happens. So you can do that for several iterations, right? That is the thing that's most likely to get you the biggest result, difference from anything else. If you're doing video ads, same thing. Just do another video, okay? Now, if you can't do that or that's tough for you, that's fine. Then change the text, which the text on a Facebook ad is what appears above the image or above the video, right? Whatever you're running. Don't change the headline. The headline is what appears, and this is what Facebook calls the headline, what appears below the image or below the video. So change it at top and see what happens. Do the same thing. Let it run long enough. And do it and commit to it. In other words, if you're running your first set of ads and you're going to run them for 5 days, set the other one up to run for 5 days. But if you're only doing $5 a day, okay, and you only spent $25 in those first 5 days, make sure you've gotten enough numbers to know whether it's working or not, because you don't want to cut it off too soon, right? Or not have enough numbers to compare it against. So you really have to pay attention to those things. The next thing is make sure that your offer is clear and compelling before running ads, which is what we were talking about before. I mean, the simplest way to do it is try to do it through organic, is to make sure and talk to your audience. Let your audience give you feedback on it. Focus on audience research and targeting. So targeting with Facebook has become worse, or as we say here in East Tennessee, worser. And it has, because they have homogenized these audiences by adding in, instead of being able to target a specific, and this isn't universally true, but let's just say you used to target Tony Robbins for an example. Well, now you can't target him. You have to target self-help. Right, so that's a much bigger audience, a much broader audience than Tony's style specifically, and it's true for a lot of things. But you've got to do your research on which targeting options are best, and there's a lot of good available targeting out there that people don't use. Things like businesses, so you can target employees of companies that make $10 million or more, not the people, but the companies, or companies that have at least 500 employees, or have between 100 and 500, or whatever the numbers are, right? You can target those things. So why is that important? Well, they have a job. If you're targeting employees, they have a job. So yeah, they still may not be able to afford whatever it is you have, but at least they're working. I mean, that's a good thing. So you really want to do that. And then, again, I'm just going to reiterate this, but reading your key ad metrics, like your cost per lead and your conversion rate and your return on ad spend, is important. And then, again, always run retargeting ads to stay in front of potential customers is a good thing. Okay, I hope all this made sense, and I hope this will help you improve your ads. But one thing I did want to mention is that if you're trying to maybe you're trying to get more leads into your business, you're trying to get you have a lead magnet, or your lead magnet's either not converting, or it's not converting well enough, or you're not getting clients out of it, then you probably want to check out my Lead Magnet Mastery bundle. And I wanted to mention this too because I thought it might be something. There's no pressure or anything like that. It's just something that I made available as a course. It's very succinct, has a guide with accompanying videos on it and stuff where I just kind of go through it. And you can actually create an awesome lead magnet in one focused session. So check it out. I'll include the link in the description. It's not free, just so you know. This course it's right now, I think it's $27. But I do price test a lot, and you should too. So you might see it for $7, or you might see it for $57 or whatever. So, but right now it's $27, so you can check that out. Okay, I hope y'all enjoyed this. And the next episode, on episode 109, is we're going to talk about why you should be running ads every single day. All right, I'll catch you then. Thanks for listening to the Ads with the Twang podcast. If you get a second, jump on over to my YouTube channel, Marketing with the Twang, and subscribe. You'll get all kinds of no BS business building help there. I'll see you next time.